This is the Ideation Project, Season 1, Track 4. There was a time before headlines required 3 exclamation points. It may be impossible to remember that time, but it existed. Not today. Today all news is uppercase, breaking. Today it's about massive proclamations. Today the headlines require up to 3 exclamations. It's totally understandable on one level. It's about the epic range and the amount of change. This is a moment where so much in our world seems so momentous, so outrageous, so potentially disastrous that we can be forgiven for shouting the information. How better to show you're appalled than all capital letters? But if all news is breaking, is anything really essential? If all headlines are DEFCON 1, what will must read mean? If all stories are delivered with hysterical fervour, how do we discern what needs to be seen? What are the implications of us all becoming sheep who cry wolf? How will we determine what is imperative and truly groundbreaking information we need? The marriage of accelerated media, the internet, and Trump pronouncements has created the conditions whereby virtually the only form of delivery is dire. Is there a blitzer disposition that varies from breaking? Might there be a polemical tweet tapped with fingers not clenched in a fist? Of course, no one can fault people for getting exercised about airstrikes, North Korea, domestic terrorism, environmental protection, or a growing white nationalist predilection. This is a dangerous new world, and the daily events are worthy of a serious tone. But can we accurately communicate for a future through emergency bulletins alone? And sometimes they're just not necessary. The exclamations do more to underscore binary divisions than to inform. It becomes less about educating people with pride and more about presenting urgency that serves your side. If all news is breaking, is anything really essential? If all YouTube titles are DEFCON 1, what will must read mean? If all stories are delivered with hysterical fervour, how do we discern what needs to be seen? This is not only about the new resistance crop. In fact, you might say exclamations start at the top. It's the tweeter-in-chief that regales the world with perfunctory diatribes that are almost always accompanied by fierce punctuation. It is a Trumpism to be stoking an already incendiary situation. And hence his social media interventions have been delivered like headlines announcing that someone is sad, uppercase and exclamation, or a former policy is bad, capitalized with punctuation, or of course, fill in the blank is a disaster. But some of the very critics who lament the president's hyperbolic missives tend to respond in kind. Every action is met with a reaction that is often promoted as must-see. Every utterance is dissected as if it's another throwback to authoritarian history. Increasingly, as the news is brought to us with exclamations, the broadcasts themselves become demonstrations. If all news is breaking, is anything really essential? If all headlines are DEFCON 1, what will must read mean? Was it not the excellent Rachel Maddow hyping a breaking news story about Trump taxes that landed with a thud? And wasn't that the same day the great blizzard of the millennium was actually a dud? Why warn of a snowpocalypse, exclamation, when the real story is that there will be some heavy winter weather on Tuesday? Why? Because in a moment when the zeitgeist is crammed with shouting headlines like people sandwiched into a Tokyo subway car, who's going to hear you if you deliver the news with less zeal? Who's going to notice if that Facebook feed comes with a nuance that is more real? CNN has become a breaking news loop. The internet never stops jockeying to scream the next scoop. The New York Times has a bolder typeface to telegraph important. Reporters have to speak in a tone that suggests catastrophe. When all of this becomes commonplace, might we be immune to perspective delivered with less of an exclamation? It's as if the news cycle now can only be sated via massive revelations, salacious gossip, and international conspiracies. Again, some of the bold headlines are not undue, but do we lose our balance if we're only hopping on one leg? Breaking news has become broken. The sky is consistently falling. But it isn't. It's dark, it's gloomy, it may be foreboding, but it hasn't fallen. Not just yet. The universe will still exist even if the immediate future is not set. There was a time before headlines required 3 exclamations. We might bleach all sense of proportions if we don't embrace some dialing down, because there's enough breaking news now in the pool for us all to drown.